From exploring Hytale as a platform for other games, to professional advice, speculation, and more, don't miss out on the latest Hycast, starting right now.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Hycast, the premier Hytale podcast. I'm your host, Fezzi, and today we're joined by TechSpectrum from Hytavern. Welcome to the podcast. We're glad to have you with us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be on.
Wonderful. So, could you tell us a little bit... Oh my gosh, I'm struggling today. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you see yourself within the Hytale community?
Yeah, right now, I've been developing games for about a decade now in different communities, like Unreal, Unity, and Roblox. It wasn't until I started looking for a new project that I heard about Hytale just a few months after the trailer's release. And on Hytavern, I currently co-run the project with our art director, Tick. And my job is to program our game, coordinate our development team, market the server, and I also handle our finances. I also do web development like databases, web hosts, and security.
Wow, cool. So let's dive a little bit into Hytavern.
All right.
So you've been working on a hero-based community server called Hytavern. And for those who don't know what it is, could you give us a little bit of details about it, what we can expect to see within it?
Yeah. So you can expect to see like a unique cast of characters that we've been working on for the past couple of months. We hope to get a roster of about 9 to 12 heroes ready around launch and some contents to update. And with each hero, they have their own unique abilities and personality, and that they have their own playstyle that people can resonate with.
Right.
One of the methods we use to give heroes their own identity is houses, and houses are part of the lore within Hytavern, and they play a role, for example, the same way that Harry Potter had Gryffindor and Slytherin. In our game, the house represents your personality, lifestyle of the heroes. It gives them a little bit of depth. And so, for example, we have 3 houses. We have the House of the Fallen, who use void. They use like void magic, and rogues, and different aspects like the dark parts of Hytale. And then we have the House of the Royal Guard, who are like the protectors of the kingdom. So like knights and paladins.
Right.
And our third house is House of the Arcane. So we have wizards and craftsmen. So they may use like magic tools or gadgets. And one of our current characters we have now, Coda, is a rogue assassin who is under the House of the Fallen. And he, for example, will play sort of the same way Rafe plays in Apex Legends. He may be able to open dimensions and flank his enemies. Another part we're going to be having is both PvP and PvE game modes. Where it will tie into the story, but not quite so much. It won't be as important.
Right.
But for the PvP experience, it's going to play similar to Overwatch and Team Fortress 2. For example, we may have our own game mode, sort of like Payload, but we're calling it Siege. We'll be going into more detail later on our website about how that works. And the other part, the PvE, is going to play similar to like a dungeon raid. It's handcrafted. None of it's generated. So it's story-based dungeon raids, and that is, let's see, but it's mainly focused around team play, different heroes, different characters. So somewhere, bit of blend between Destiny and Overwatch.
Wow. Seems like you got a lot planned out. It sounds like it's going to be a pretty polished experience, which is great. Because I have a feeling when Hytale comes out, I think there's going to be a lot of rushed projects in the beginning cycle. So I'm glad to hear you guys are really planning everything out, because, that's probably going to be rare for the first couple months of the game coming out. So
this actually brings me, when we talk about it later, there's a point I want to bring up about why you should definitely be starting early. So I'm going to unpack that later.
Okay, so what inspired you to create Hytavern? Why did you adopt that name in particular as well?
Well, when I and Tick first started working together, a big part of the community was coming from Minecraft, and many wanted to put their own Minecraft servers into the game, but we didn't quite want to do that. We wanted to do something a little bit different. See, we haven't spent much time in the Minecraft community. We're not really part of it, even though we played the game on and off. We wanted to take an opportunity to break away from some of the format that's been going on.
Yeah.
Like how Minecraft doesn't really support anything with the queue. What we want to be doing is make because I noticed Hytale does support some of the UI custom editing, so you may have like a menu to enter a lobby, play a game, go to a shop, different things like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, we want to break away from the tradition of how Minecraft servers are being played that people are wanting to bring into Hytavern. And as for the name, we wanted something a bit medieval, something you could right off the bat know this is a medieval game, and it feels a little bit welcoming. So taverns generally scream medieval. So
right.
And we're going to put our art style, similar to how you see Hearthstone and Dungeon Defenders 2, games like that.
Oh, great. So, as we all should know, there's a huge amount of Hytale servers currently planned or in development throughout the community. In what ways is your server going to stick out from them? Like you mentioned, you are trying to aim for something that kind of breaks the mold a little bit. What will make Hytavern stand out?
Well, like we just said earlier, we're not trying to do another Minecraft server. We're trying to do our own thing. We're trying to make a game using Hytale as a platform. And another thing is that there's a lot of people who are doing RPGs right now. I'm noticing a lot of trends with the RPG community.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of games you could be doing right now differently, because a lot of people are very interested in the PvP aspects of this game. A lot of magic you could be.
Yeah.
So things like Stolen Dell coming up and Blockshot, those are good examples of different games that are not part of this trend that a lot of people are doing. So we're going to be working on our own bosses, our own game modes. Another thing is there's a lot of focus on customization, kind of like skins. So it's different things like that. So it's basically all around making a game, not a server. Not just another server, it's a game.
True. That's a great way to approach it, because that's the thing, is that, like you mentioned, there's a lot of the RPG stuff happening right now, and that's because I think it's very appealing to have your own story out there with your own characters, and we all have seen how impactful a good RPG with a good story is on like the gaming industry, let alone just a community online. So it's a very appealing thing, I think. Yeah, like World of Warcraft and stuff. It is good that you're thinking about PvP though, because that can get neglected, because I think a lot of people kind of dive too much into the RPG thing. I mean, especially with some Minecraft servers.
Can I make a quick note about RPGs?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I actually come from a community where I am the RPG developer. I have programmed and coded them.
Right.
And speaking from experience, it is a very long process, and you need a very large team.
100%, yeah.
Closing down the scope of your game to something a little more encased, it's not as open and takes us longer, you can get a lot more done. There's a lot more quality than quantity. So
yeah, keeping your focus lasered in on what you want is a great thing. And I think Hytale's going to be weird for PvP, and I think a lot of people are also kind of diving into the RPG side because we don't know much about the PvP yet. In fact, really anything. The only thing we've seen combat-wise is some players fighting some skeletons. So it's going to be interesting to see where people push the PvP aspect of this game. I'm very excited for it. And I'm also really interested to see where the game mode like Siege goes, because, you know, Hytale's much more accessible than Minecraft in terms of its modifications. So I'm very interested to see where that goes. But I'm glad to hear that everything seems to be planned out before like anything, because like there's going to be a lot obviously that changes from what we understand, and it's good to hear that you're keeping your head in the game.
Yeah, and we're going off based on what has been announced so far.
Yeah,
so everything we're talking about doing and planning is based on everything that's already announced.
Right. So moving on a little bit, the success of really any project relies heavily on a strong, capable, and active team like we just mentioned. What do you look for when recruiting new team members for Hytavern, and in your opinion, what should server owners avoid?
As of now, we're trying to keep our team small and active. We want every staff member to have a clear job, and if having too many people, you might not be able to distribute what they need to do. And we believe in reinforcing our work through positive incentives. So we hope to pay all our full-time staff as more come in.
Yeah.
The more work you do, it's a bigger payoff.
Yeah.
So committing your work to us, we are figuring that out. So we are setting up LLCs, NDAs, all that information. It's building up over time.
Yeah.
We're going to get to the point where that's getting bigger.
It's a process.
Anyways, what we're looking for in potential members is their ability to learn and how much effort gets put in.
Right.
And we want each staff to, understand the vision of the game.
Right.
But we're also looking for, talent and people who put in the work. And sometimes talented people don't get accepted solely because of attitude.
Right. Yeah.
If we look into someone and see, we're looking to, I would say, see what their past work is, the references, who they work with, and what they've done before. And with small teams, it's better than, like I said, it's all about quality over quantity.
Yeah, 100%. That's a really important way to look at it, because you want to make sure you have people that mess with the vision, right? You want people that that are just as dedicated to the thing as you are. So quality over quantity. That's a big one for everyone out there trying to be an aspiring server owner. Quality over quantity, the biggest thing. Great way to put it. A lot of Hytale servers have started development quite early, with some hibernating and others even disbanding due to the long wait. With a whole year still to wait, what are your thoughts about developing a server this early on?
We think that a year-long wait is actually a perfect time for us, contrary to what most people think. There is a lot that can be done before the release of Hytavern and Hytale. We're hoping to take this time to market our brand, get the concepts and arts and models made, work on the lore, develop the website. So one thing we're doing is we're also making our heroes early in Craft Studio and Blockbench, so that we can get a clear idea of what they look and what the art style is. So by the time that Hytale Model Maker comes out, our artists and our modelers don't have to spend months figuring out from scratch. Instead, they can spend about a month to take care of 2 to 3 characters at a time, so we can get them out faster instead of figuring out everything from the beginning. And another thing is, with our entire cast, I think we're saving about maybe 3 months time just working on those characters. And I know not every game can do this right now, but I would highly suggest most start. It's a really good time to be doing it, because if you wait till later, you're also going to be driven into a corner with the competition when people are starting to do what each other is doing that works the most. So if you wait till later, you might come across that wall.
100%.
So do it now before the competition gets you.
Right. And it's always really intimidating when you have this server that dominates over the scene, and you want to become that spot, and it's really, really intimidating and hard to drive people away from their favorite server. So that's definitely a really important way of looking at it, and efficiency is key. You want to keep things flowing. It's really important to start thinking early, to start prepping early, to get yourself running. So is there any advice you could give to a fellow server owner on avoiding burnout and keeping momentum going?
Just pace yourself, and you don't have to be constantly working on your project. It's a passionate project.
Yeah.
You have about, based on the release date, I would say we have about a year or a year and a half.
Yeah.
So you can set, what we're doing right now is setting short-term goals so that we can say, this is the objective we're meeting in this month. We're not thinking about the long way. We're thinking about just what's coming up. What can be done at this month? And pace yourself to be able to meet it.
Yes.
And when you're not doing that, I would suggest, if you got a team, you could honestly go and play a game together, find inspiration playing other games with them, or just talking with them. Just hang out. You don't have to be constantly in a work mode. When you're not, just settle down, go do something else, and be re-inspired. Sometimes you just have to go and re-inspire yourself. Another thing you can be doing is making a roadmap, so it makes it easier for you to set your goals. So make a roadmap, short-term goals, start working on them, know when things need to be done in a certain order, and that will make it easier so you're not stressing trying to do multiple things at once before something's ready.
Right. Keeping that creative cog turning and keeping everything organized is super important. Great advice. So let's dive in a little bit to Hytale as a platform, because everything that we said kind of deals with this. So, due to the abundance of creative tools and Hytale's focus on making Hytale very customizable, some people have begun to view Hytale more like a platform than a game. What are your thoughts on this, and do you see Hytale becoming a platform for entire games, for example?
I definitely believe that Hytale can be a platform for an entire game. For example, we saw a top-down shooter in their trailer.
Yeah.
The part where they show the modding utilities. That was a good example of how diverse this game can get from the core game. So we don't have to rely on just modifying the core game like we have with Minecraft. It's not as closed. So, for example, we saw that we were able to modify the camera. That camera control alone opens the ability to make multiple game modes like an RTS, like StarCraft. So just that one thing alone opens different possibilities for different games.
100%.
And when you have that, and don't forget, they are also running their own server list of the community's games. And that means on their official platform, which anything that gives you a viewing space to get players is a platform by definition.
Right. 100%.
Because they're hosting and you can move up, they are a platform for games.
100%. And that's actually, I've never heard anyone talk about it that way. That's a interesting perspective. So, speaking of other platforms, do you think comparing Hytale to something like Steam or Roblox is fair, or should it be treated differently?
It's absolutely, because Roblox and Steam showcase the list of games for viewers to play, and it helps you generate an income, which is the same thing what most people want to be doing in this community, is making a game that helps them generate an income. Anything that gives you a place to be visible is a platform, and we know based on our talk a while back that they are doing that server list, like I said. And okay, Roblox, for example, you can make your own game from scratch,
right,
and you can, it'll view, and as soon as players come up, your top game list. Same thing with Steam, exact same thing.
Mm-hmm.
More people on your game, on top of based on advertising in traffic, your game can be moving to the front page. I expect them to be doing the same thing. So really, it is fair to make the comparison.
Cool. So this is really cool, actually. I really like this because I don't think anyone's really talked about it in depth about Hytale being a platform for games, and kind of expanding on that. In the past, huge and influential games have given birth to entirely new games and genres, like MOBAs in Warcraft 3, and Counter-Strike originated as a Half-Life mod. Do you believe Hytale has the potential to achieve something like that, and to give birth to new popular games or even genres?
I do, because even in Roblox, there was this game. It became on Steam. I don't know if you heard of it, but it's called Unturned.
Yeah.
It was originally a Roblox game called Dead Zone Zack, but he became a success on Roblox, and he took his game and remade it onto Unity. So it's a good way to concept the game and bring it to a quote unquote official game platform, which is Steam, or more professional level. So it, like Roblox, Hytale can also work as a concept utility to start visualizing your game much faster and easier before you bring it into those more professional platforms like in Unity and Unreal. So that success story don't quite happen too often, but it is very possible, because you can get your funding off of Hytale by becoming a success, just like Unturned did. And Hytale itself is a living, breathing company that only hosts a Minecraft server in it. It's now making its own game. So the company you are supporting has done this.
Yes. That's actually a really great point. Hytale was in that position at one point. Same with Unturned. So, dreams are kind of as high as the sky goes, I guess. Now, kind of pulling it back to right now, is there anything in the community that you've already seen that you think could become an independent video game in the future?
As of right now, there isn't really anything yet, but we'll probably see some servers that are successful that change the way the platform thinks.
Right.
Like, for example, when Hypixel released, I believe they did make, what's their game mode? Skyblock? That changed the entire community. The entire, platform. So becoming their own independent thing, it really depends on what they do that launches a success and helps gain them the funding. But right now, there is nothing quite standing out yet. I wouldn't say anything until the game is out. The more popping up, but like I said, we have so many RPGs. As soon as we have more coming in, there's potential for it.
Right, and we need to see the scope widen a little bit, I think, before we can actually make that assumption. Because, like you said, right now, there's a lot of RPGs out there. We haven't seen anything PvP yet. There's a lot. I mean, assuming this game can become a platform, there's a lot that it can bring to the table. So,
oh yeah, I would love to play an RTS on it.
Oh yeah, so we'll have to wait and see on that, but the future does look bright. And assuming that Hytale does become like a full-blown platform for games, what are your thoughts on Hytale adopting something like a platform-wide currency, like Roblox, for example?
A universal currency might work if they expand it into letting players buy clothes similar to Roblox. Right. However, I don't really see them taking that direction, as they are coming from Minecraft, which lets you pay, take pay directly, like from PayPal from off-site. So it's more likely that they will benefit from integrating a PayPal and other payment service into the platform itself for buying it in-game and using a sort of credit system, maybe on their website, put money in the website and act as the currency. So, but that becomes it gets mixed into the legal obligations as a company and like the tax reporting and everything else that you have to handle. So, and like in Roblox, if you wanted to make money off of your Robux, you have to dev X and you will be tax reporting that.
Right.
So it does like close the gap on what can be done. So if they wanted to add something more with in-game monetization, it puts more responsibility on them in a legal standpoint. So it's more likely to say it'll be similar to Minecraft, where we will be making our websites, making our own web store still. I think we might still be at this point until they give us a solution and announce it. But otherwise, I don't believe that they are big enough or have the legal team right now to be putting in a integrated monetization quite yet.
That's a fair point. They got a lot on their plate. They got a lot to deal with, and more paperwork isn't something I think they need. So makes a lot of sense. So moving on to Hytale technology speculation, there has recently been some discourse in the community regarding what language will be used for Hytale's live scripting, with JavaScript and TypeScript both commonly used in the debate. What do you think Hytale will utilize for this feature, and why do you think?
The misconception here is that JavaScript and TypeScript are two different languages. It's really not. TypeScript is just a compiler for JavaScript, but allows you to use more data types like class. It gives you the ability to use object-oriented programming. Right. And live scripting requires the code be interpreted when running the game, whereas TypeScript compiles and finalizes. It's sort of like Java acts, so it can't quite be used for live scripting. I mean, there's a possibility, depending if someone might make a mod where it does support TypeScripting, because like I said, TypeScript is just a extension of JavaScript, so it's more likely to say it's going to be probably plain JavaScript.
Okay.
And it might not be even anything custom. It may just be regular coding.
That's fair.
So, like I said, based on the syntax, based on the way live scripting has to be done and interpreted, it's more than likely JavaScript.
Okay. So other people have suggested throughout the community, Hypixel have made their own, this is a suggestion, this hasn't been confirmed, have made their own scripting language for Hytale based on JavaScript. Do you think this is a possibility?
Like I said, it's to put it in their game for live scripting, it is likely. Roblox has taken Lua and turned it, they've modified it enough to be called Roblox or like rbx.lua. So they may modify it enough to justify calling it their own changed version, but it's a possibility. That's I kind of might see how they would, just mainly to support the live scripting within Java, but other than that, I don't think there's much to be changed about it right now, other than to work in the workspace to change the objects. I think that's one way to be putting it, is to access the objects of the game. They might have customized it.
So you're saying there might be a kind of a little bit, and if they just modify it enough, they may just call it like their own subversion. So makes sense.
JavaScript was made for web. JavaScript was made mainly for web at the time. So to be saying that they put it into their game engine would mean they would have to modify it to be working with the objects in the game.
Right.
Within their own hierarchy, the way the game is structured.
Okay, so we also know that Hytale, the client side, is coded with C#, while the customizable server part will be in Java. Since the client will be out of our reach, do you see any reasons for learning C# for Hytale, or should programmers prioritize Java?
You should be prioritizing Java. The only thing I would say about C# is there might be some way or some person who wants to go and, like Minecraft, make custom shaders or custom mod loaders. So that might be possible depending on how closed the code is.
Right.
But they do not want you editing their clients.
Right.
That would be like making an X-ray into your Minecraft client when going on a Minecraft server. They want you to be modifying their open source Java. So I'd say stick with the Java. And client side, if you are penetrating testing for security, go right on ahead if it helps them improve.
Fair enough. So we have been told that Hytale server technology will be open source, essentially providing everyone with a template for server creation. What are your thoughts about this? How do you think this shared source approach will affect the community?
It'll be very useful, but it's also going to be very dangerous at the same time. And I'll use Fallout 76 as an example. While we do have open source tools to be making your own server and customizing it how we want, we also have the issue of exploits being more easily written. Because when your source code is the server, it's easy to find those loopholes that might be in the game that you might not be aware of. So I expect more programmers to be patching those holes, probably making their own anti-exploits. So there is going to be a market for making those anti-exploits to be stopping these issues that Hytale may not catch. And this is a issue in minigames this is why minigames just don't offer open source, because it makes it harder for it to be exploited.
Right.
And Fallout 76 is an example of a game where it's open source tools to a now running server. And this is also why it was partially easy in Minecraft to be exploiting servers, because Spigot was, open.
Right.
What I would like the community to be doing is helping each other out when the game comes out. If exploiting does become a problem, I would like each and every server owner to be sharing solutions. Because we're all on the same boat, and we all don't want it to sink.
Okay, that's completely fair. So, once again, this is something I actually haven't heard being discussed throughout the Hytale community at all. These are great points you're making throughout this whole thing. I hope it sparks some discussion, because there are some, concerns with everything. I've really only heard positivity about all of this in the terms of the general audience for the game. And, addressing all concerns is going to be something that server owners are going to want to tackle. So I think it's great that you're bringing up these points, and I think it's awesome that you're letting everyone know about these. At least to my knowledge, I haven't heard really anyone talk about it, so that's great. Now, finally, the developers have told us that it is their ambition to implement solutions to all of the difficulties that they encountered over the years. So do you believe they can achieve this goal and provide answers to any issues that players or server operators might have?
If we're thinking back to the release date announcement of 2021, it's a good reflection on that they're taking things slow so they can find solutions without rushing. And one of the biggest issues I mentioned, the exploiting, that's going to take extensive tests, which can involve months of monitoring and trying to break your own game, which is actually as easy as it sounds, because while you may think something is fixed and working, you have someone else across the globe that knows it better than you do and can make it fall apart just as easy as you made it. And we'll probably be seeing them bring in more people who have a different mindset that can solve these solutions that may have gone overlooked by the current staff. And we're probably looking at a summer 2021 release, or a beta, or maybe 2 months before that summer that we might be getting it. And we will probably see a lot of issues that we are expected to find, especially if they give us the open source code. I expect many people might be finding issues that we will be reporting back. So it can be improved, but it does take time because they are slowly getting more people interested who are developers in the industry. They're coming in and improving it. You just saw them recently add more advanced lighting. That is not easy. That does take a professional team in the industry who knows what they're doing. So they are slowly improving as they are growing, as their sponsors are becoming more interested.
100%. So with all of that said, that is all of the questions we had for today. If there's anything else you would like to say, socials or anything like that, feel free to do so. It has been an absolute pleasure. So go ahead.
You can find us on Twitter and keep up with updates on what's going on. And we're also currently hiring if you're looking to work with an experienced team with good management. And we are fair to you, and we are looking forward to finding any good talent in voice, modeling, building, art, anywhere. We're looking for you.
Great. So make sure, once again, to follow Hytavern on Twitter. All of their links will be in the description below. Thank you for tuning into this week's podcast, and make sure you subscribe if you want to hear more. That's been everything for this podcast. It's been a great one, very informational. This has been your host, Fezzy the Frog, and we'll see you around here next time.
This video was sponsored by Virtual Gladiators. Virtual Gladiators have everything you need to make your very own Minecraft or Hytale server. Click the link in the description to find out more.